I went to University of Toronto and Western University. So I went to U of T for engineering, and I went to that program because I wanted a very specific type of engineering that was only available through U of T. They also gave me a small scholarship, so that helped make the decision easier. I went to Western University, and that was for law school. And the reason I went there was because I didn't want to go to U of T for my law degree. I wanted to try out a different school. And Western seemed to have a good law program, and it was close enough that it was easy for me to switch over and move down to London. Yeah, I always kind of knew I would end up going to university, even from earlier on in high school. I really liked math and science. I enjoyed those courses more than some of the others, and so it was suggested I should look at engineering, and then I started looking at the different options in engineering. And to do engineering, you can do some through community college, but university seemed to be the best route at that time. For me, the change between university and high school was actually pretty large, because I went to a high school in a small town, about 2 hours north of Toronto. So it was a very small community, and a smaller high school in some ways. And so for me to go to the big city, as you would call it, was a pretty big change. The advantage I had was that I was accepted into residence, into a dorm in my first year. And so that made it a little bit easier in that I was in a smaller group of people in the dorm. And University of Toronto, like some universities, has a system where the residences are sort of a separate community from, say, the engineering school or some other kind of school. It's a smaller, self-contained unit, and so that was very good. Yeah, so at U of T, I was in engineering science, which is sort of a specialized type of engineering that's offered at U of T. It's one of the harder engineering programs, but was very interesting. And then at Western University, I was at law school, so it was entirely devoted to law. And in order to get into law school, you also have to write a separate exam called the LSAT, Law School Admission Test. So during high school, I said I was really drawn to the math and science classes. And so I can't actually remember who, but somebody suggested that I should look at engineering as a program. And then I started looking deeper at that. And there was a program called aerospace engineering. I was very interested in space and the different ways that space could be useful. And so I was really looking at that aerospace program at U of T, and U of T was the only one at the time offering that. When I was studying engineering, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And I had realized that the field of aerospace engineering was very small, especially at that time. It's gotten a lot bigger over the last several years, but at the time I was at school, it was very small and would be hard to get into. So I was doing a different type of engineering at the end called manufacturing engineering. And I realized that I wasn't totally sure that's what I wanted to do for my job. So as an elective in my final year, I took a course in criminal law. And I really enjoyed that. And that added to an interest that I had in law from even high school times. And So I decided in my last year of engineering that I would take the law school admission test, and I ended up doing fairly well at it. So that's what made me think about applying to law. And then I worked for a year and decided, I should go back and give it a try, see what law school was like. In the engineering program, the studies were largely math, physics, some chemistry. And then as the years progressed, it got more and more specific. So there were specific types of math, including algebra, complex numbers, all kinds of derivatives of different kinds. And then in the physics side, it got into all areas of physics. I even ended up having a course on robotics, a course on materials. So it was pretty broad-based learning experience. In law school, the focus is just on law, but in law, you have criminal law, family law, corporate law, tax law, and we ended up covering a little bit of everything, including what I'm doing now, which is called intellectual property law. I would recommend both of the programs. Engineering, especially for anybody who's into science and math, is a great program. Engineering is a program that just really teaches you how to think logically and how to solve problems using logical approaches. And so engineers end up going on and doing all kinds of different jobs. It doesn't necessarily need to be an engineering job. You can get into different management roles. You can go in, I have friends who went into finance because of the mathematical aspects. So engineering is a great start for anything that you want to do afterwards. Law school is somewhat similar. It keeps pushing on that problem-solving side, but brings in more business and more financial information. So the combination, I think, was a good combination. A lot of people will also do engineering plus an MBA. Also great combinations if you want to advance in the world of business. And those kind of things can also help you if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to get something of your own up and running. They're both good, solid bases to do stuff like that. Yeah, so after engineering, I did work for a year, which was in manufacturing engineering. But then after law school, I was able to find a job in intellectual property law. And intellectual property law relates to patents and trademarks. And patents are providing legal protection for technology. So patent law is a perfect field for somebody who has a mix of engineering and law. And that's what I ended up getting into, and that's what I'm doing today. And it's been a very interesting career. You get to keep up on both areas of technology and areas of law. So it's a really good mix for my 2 degrees. After engineering, it was relatively easy. It was a bit of a down economy. So there were some people struggling to get jobs, but most of the people in my class got jobs fairly quickly. Not everyone got exactly what they wanted, but everybody got into the workforce. And then after law school, the timing worked out well, so everybody was getting jobs. It wasn't too bad. But yeah, I think overall it wasn't too bad making that jump. Going from, I'd say engineering prepares you a bit better for the kind of work you're going to do. Law school, especially at the time I went, was a little bit too academic. So jumping into a job was a bit more of a jump because we hadn't been trained on all the practical aspects of what needed to be done. But it was something that we were able to pick up pretty quickly. I think the best advice is just to find something that interests you and that you're going to want to apply yourself to, and have some excitement about learning and trying out. The first steps in university, it's always a little bit of upheaval because sometimes you're moving away, or you're living in a residence, or you're going into a program that might be a little harder than what you saw at high school. So if you've got that interest and a little bit of excitement, then you can commit yourself to it a little bit better. And the bottom line is that what you do can change. Like me, starting off in engineering and then switching gears and going to law. There's always time to make other decisions as you move ahead. I've heard a number of times, your 20s is the time when you should experiment. You should try different things. You should see what you like and what drives you. And so university is just one step in that. Don't feel like you're committing yourself for the rest of your life. And like I said, even if you do something like engineering, you can start off working in that field, and then there's many different ways you can branch off. And I think that's true for many different programs in university. You've got lots of options as you move ahead.